My beloved ones, today we are going to handle the issue about faith and culture, which has been a crisis in most people's mind and in most community, most of our teachers. But I want us to understand that faith comes from hearing, as Paul would put it, as he wrote to the Romans, that faith comes from hearing. And what you hear is what really forms your faith. And your faith is what forms your behavior, your way of life. It's simple. If you don't believe in anything, you don't live it out. It's what you believe that you live out. And it's what you believe is you believe with your whole heart, not partially. That's why when they say, if you are not ready to die for your faith, it means you have not believed that thing. And when you believe something, you live it out. So when you see somebody who is a drunkard, he believes in wine and this. That's why he's a drunkard. That's why he falls into the gutter. That's what he believes. And that's what he's living out. If you see a person who believes in womanizing, that's what he believes. You see him living it out. He's known as that. And when you see somebody who is corrupt, you see him live it out. That's what he believes. That's the way of life. And you see somebody who is worldly, you see him live it worldly, live it out. So it is the faith that forms culture, not culture that forms the faith. The culture of any community is what they believe. When you talk about this culture, that's why you have different cultures all over the world, because they have different beliefs. If they have one belief, there will be one culture all over the place. So it's what somebody believes that forms his faith. What somebody believes that forms his faith, and what if forms his faith forms his culture. It's the faith that forms his culture. And now when John Paul II was writing to the church in Africa, I was telling them, look, get it right. If your faith does not become your culture, it means you never accepted that faith, or you never thought about it. You never thought about it. A Christian in Africa, number 38. And Pope Francis said, any short of faith in Christ is idolatry. We're telling you, if your faith is not in Christ, any other thing you are doing is idolatry. Can you see Roman Fide number 13? So faith comes, it is faith that brings culture. It's what you teach your children that will form their behavior and character and way of life. And what the town teaches is people that form their culture. So their faith. And that's why when you come about, I talk about Muslim faith. People who believe in Muhammad have their core way of life because they believe in, they live it out. But you see people who are pagan, they live out pagan culture, or traditional religion, they live out traditional culture. When you see somebody who believes in Christianity, he lives a Christian culture. Any person who says, I believe in something and doesn't live it out, there is no truth in you. Can you see 1 John chapter 2, verse 3? And anybody who says, I know God, but doesn't keep the commandments, there is no truth in you. If you say you know Muhammad, but you don't live out the commandments of Muhammad, you are not in him. You say you are traditional land, you don't live out what the traditional religion tells you, you are not in him. There's no provision for hypocrisy. And that's why God gave the second, you should not take the name of God in vain. You cannot be answering a Christian and be living Muslim life. You can't be being a Muslim and live out Christian life. It's not possible. It's what you believe that forms your culture. And now we have provision for hypocrisy. People who are neither, they are not there. But you want to practice, you want the benefit in this culture, but not the duties. You want the benefit in that culture, but not the duties. You want the benefit in this faith, but not the duties. You want the benefit in another faith, but not the duties. That's called hypocrisy. Based on dual affiliation. So faith forms culture. I want to also emphasize it, that faith forms culture. What you believe that forms your way of behavior. Nothing short, nothing less. So when you behave, by your fruits we shall know you. When you behave, when the community behaves, you know what forms their culture. When you are barbaric, it means what forms your faith is barbarianism. If you are tribalistic, it means what forms your faith, your culture is tribalism. If you are racist, it means what forms your faith, your culture is racism, is your faith. And things like that, multiply them. So whatever you believe is what you live out. There's no mix-up. And you can't hide from it. And what is your culture is what decides who you are. whether you belong to the archaic world, or whether you belong to the modern, or whether you belong to the truth, or whether you belong to lies or falsehood. And we can say that because faith forms culture, that will have different culture all over the world, because we have different faiths. And that's the basis of crisis in the world. That's the basis of crisis in the world. Different culture, different faith. If I share the same faith with you, but we don't have different culture, then we are not sincere to ourselves. So it's the same culture, the same faith, the same culture. That's what I'm saying. If you understand it like that, you leave it out. Later in another episode, we shall then ask ourselves, why is it that we have crisis of culture all over the world? What is the solution? What is the solution? Because it's the basis of crisis all over the world. That we have racism, now have all this tribalism and nepotism, and mention it, that we have all types of criminality around us. We have different culture. What is evil in your culture might not be evil in my own. What is evil in your faith might not be evil in my faith. What is good in my faith can be evil in your culture, in your own. And that's how the basis of crisis. People behave anyhow, act anyhow, become a terrorist to another one. We shall see why that formation. What is the solution? Faith forms culture. That's what I'm saying. So my brothers and sisters, faith forms culture. If you want to know your culture, know your faith. If you know your faith, you know your culture. If you are not living it out, then you are not sincere to your faith. And if you are not ready to die for your faith, it means you never believed in it, you never accepted it, you never thought about it. May God help us understand that faith forms culture, so that we start forming our society, forming our families based on faith, so that the faith will produce the culture within that goes with it. God bless you and keep you true to his name as you live out your faith, which is your culture.